Hi all, this movie is going to be to correct keystoning when you take a picture, and I have a typical shot here that you would shoot with your camera. This is very much keystoned, meaning this picture was taken and the image was badly distorted by the person tilting the camera too much. We're going to turn it into this image here so you can see how to fix it and make it right. But why this movie is being done is because we're going to take artwork that we shot for our portfolio, and we shot it in this case with an iPhone 7, and I want you to make sure when you shoot your artwork, and I'll go to the next one here, that you shoot it not right side up. I either shoot it sideways or I shoot it, and I'll go to the next one, upside down, because it makes sure that when a person paints, sometimes they angle their paint actually, and especially when they draw, they push their pencil upwards because that's the nature of where they're sitting into the paper, and it causes the paper to gather little edges. And if you shoot it the right side up and you're still shooting, and now listen to this, you got to shoot it outside between about 10 and 2, 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon on a nice blue sky day, hopefully with no passing clouds, so there's not a lot of light variation, but shoot it in the shade. Okay, try to find a nice place to shoot in the shade, but keep your back away from the sun so that you're not forcing, even in the shadow, a shadow to go over your artwork. Okay, so this was shot outside in the shade with pretty consistent light, and I'm going to make it right. It's obviously not right, and I don't have the artwork in front of me here, but I'm going to pick up and use a typical Photoshop levels command to make it right. And on this one, I'm going to, since this was a black and white piece and I shot it in color, we're going to go to grayscale on it after I fix up a couple things, because this one's going from blue to warm, and we obviously don't want that to go from blue to warm. So I'm going to go back to this one and show you very quickly the whole process, because the process never changes. I'm going to duplicate the background because I always do that just for safety's sake, and on this PSD file I'm going to fill up a layer underneath this with white. I'm just going to have it filled with white because normally when you put your material in a portfolio you want it to be filled with white. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to hit the P key, and I'm going to get close to this one here, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to put a path around this, not holding the shift key. I'm going to put it in here roughly, and then I'm going to zoom in and make sure that the path is closed and it's a pixel inside, a pixel or two inside. So I'm closing the shape right there. Now I'm going to hold the Command or Control key, and I'm going to put that a pixel or two inside. Please make sure snap is not on in Photoshop. Okay, let's move over to this side, and let's zoom into there, and let's see if we're a pixel in. I should move it a little bit to the left right there so that I don't gather any white space in the background. I can crop that off later, but I'm still kind of picky with this. Let's move this down. Now I'll move over to this side, and let's push this one down a bit. Okay, so let's bring this down to here, and I'm fine. Now I am going to, here's my work path. I'm going to double click it and just make it a path. And then I'm going to put this on its own layer. Okay, so we're going to Command or Control click this to turn it into a selection. And then if I'm selected on this upper copy here, and it's just my habit to make extra copies. I never want to ruin an original. Okay, but I'm going to hit Command or Control J to make myself a layer of just this. Now this is dedicated by itself on a layer. You can see if I turn this off, here you have the transparent background. Okay, but I'm going to turn on the white background. Okay. First thing to do, and you can do it anywhere you want, is hit Command R and or Control R and get the rulers up. Now I'm going to put a guide on the top, and if it's not horizontal, I don't worry about it. I'm putting it near the fattest or the most outer part of the picture. So I'm putting a guide here and here. You can barely see my guides because they're in this green color. I should actually go in and change my color of my guides, which I know in Illustrator I can. I don't remember in Photoshop, believe it or not. Let me see if I can quickly change the color of my guides guides, grids, and slices. I'm going to change my guides to a different color so we can see them on the screen a little bit better. Now you can kind of see them a little bit better. Now, what I'm going to do is, and I hit the F key so that, look, if the F key is not hit, then I can only move this a little bit left and right. But if I hit F, then it cascades this to the full screen, and I can get as much by holding the space bar down. I can get as much movement on it, and why that's important is because I'm going to do the following. I'm going to hit on this layer up here, make sure I'm on that layer, I'm going to hit Control T. Now, in Control T, I am going to use this transform here by holding the Command or Control key. I'm going to zoom back out because I'm going to have to move it way over here, see? But don't look where I'm moving it. Look at this corner, and let's get this corner to match up where the guide is. So hold the Command or Control key and put this over here, and now you're not looking where my mouse is. You're actually trying to keep your eye right there. Okay, so you see how I've now straightened that up. Now let's do the same thing on this side. Let's hold Command or Control and grab this and only do one edge of it and fix it like this. And now we have actually gotten this to appear a little bit better. Now, by moving this side, I ruined that side. So what I need to do is to do it again. Now, there's a way to actually do both sides. I'm going to actually show you that. I'm going to hold the Command or Control key, and I'm going to put this about the same distance away. Look at how this is the same distance away from here and the same distance away from here. Now, if I hold Command, Control, Command, Option, and Shift, I can actually move an entire edge in 3 dimensions. Now that's Control, Alt, and Shift. So watch when I grab this, how I can actually move this so both, you see what's happening? See how I'm actually moving both edges towards there? And I can put it pretty darn close to where it's actually going to be vertical on both sides. Now, if I let go of everything and only hold the Command key, I can zoom into here and only move this one a tad up and over, and then I can kind of, let me zoom in and fix it a little bit more. Let me move it down just a little bit and over. Okay, now let's move over to the other side, and I'm already good there. So there is how we have fixed this. So in the Transform tool, if you want to only do one edge, you hold Command or Control. If you want to do the whole edge in a 3-point perspective, you hold 3 keys. That's Control, Alt, and Shift, or Command, Option, and Shift. Okay, now I'm going to hit the Return key, and what we've done is we've taken this, let me turn this off, we've taken this and we've made it that. Now let's go do the same thing in the artwork. Okay, so you can fast forward this if you want, but I'm going to now hit Command tilde, and I'm going to go, I'm actually going to save that as my Keystone PSD file, and so I don't lose it, and I'm going to close it, and we're going to go to this one. So let's start with this one. Let's do the same process we just did before. First though, I told you I don't like ruining an original, so what I should do is save as and just make this a PSD file. There's many ways I can do that. Now I really don't have to, since I already have it saved as a PSD file. I already have the JPEG saved, so I technically have my original intact. So let's take this file and make sure I'm in that file. I want it to be in the PSD file right there. Okay, now let's make it image mode grayscale, and let's get rid of the color information. Now let's use the healing brush after a few minutes, but let's actually now do what we need to do to this. Okay, so I'm going to double click the background layer. I'm going to duplicate it, because if I make a mistake I can always go back to this one. Now again, I'm going to put a white background between the two of them so that I have something to work with in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to take the P key. Let's start right away, and let's just cut this one out. So let's take this and put our pen there. Let's go over here. Do not hold the Shift key because it might not be horizontal, and let's just put a pen mark right there. Let me zoom down here, and let's just put a pen mark here. Now if there's curving that's going on, we'll deal with that in a little bit. There's a slight bit of curving going on, as I can see. Now I'm going to put the pen mark right there, or the pen point right there, and let's go up here and close the shape. Boom, I've closed it. Now let's zoom in, hold the Command or Control key, and put this exactly in the corner. I don't want that dark line part of this. I really don't. So I just don't want to cut off the artist's name. In this, I was making a portfolio for another artist. I was making a website, and I'm still in the process of doing that. Okay, now my pen path is perfect. Okay, so let's double click it and make it into a path. That's the very first thing. Now hit the Command or Control key to turn it into a selection. Click up there, and I suppose I can throw this layer away in a second, but hit Command J or Control J. It now makes a copy, and you can see how I have that copy on a checkerboard background, which means it's transparent, which means the first pixels are right there. So I can actually throw that one away. Now I have the white background, and I have this. Now, same thing we're going to do is put the guides at the fat part. You see what I'm talking about, the fat part right here? Look at how the right hand side is hitting before the left hand side. So that's where I put it. Now I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to put it on the right hand side again. So we have work to do there. Let's go over here and put it over here. And now let's put this at the fat part of the curve here, and let's now come over here and put this at the fat part of the curve right up here. So you can see how I now have 4 corners to move. Okay, so now if I click here and hit Command T, I can do what I need to do. Now I'm not sure, I don't think I really need to do the whole corner shift. I could probably do this one corner at a time since it's not very much movement. Let's see if we can just do one corner at a time and make it easy on ourselves. So I hold the Command key or the Control key on a PC, and I now put this one and move the pixels up to the guide. Let's go over here and move these pixels by holding Command or Control to the guide. Now let's see if we've ruined that side, and the answer is no, we didn't. Let's go over here and hold the Command or Control key and fix this one. Now let's go down here using my space bar. Now my finger's on the Command or Control key, and I can fix this one. Now I've pretty much made this back to its normal proportion. Let's recheck all the corners. I should move this one down just a touch like that. Let's go back up to this corner, make sure we are good to go. Yes, we are. Now I can center it. Hit the return key because I'm accepting my transformation. And now I can even flip the canvas. So now let's put this and flip the whole entire thing. So let's go to Edit. Let's go, to Image. Let's go up to Rotate Canvas, the whole rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now I have this thing completely perfect. Now let's hit Save on the file. And now let's use the healing brush to get rid of some of this. So I'm going to get rid of the guides now by going Command or Control semicolon. Okay, and that now got rid of the guides. So let's go over here and grab the healing brush. Now in the healing brush, I have it on Sample All Layers, and it's on Content Aware. And look at how I can use the healing brush to get rid of some of these things right here. Let's just keep on going. And I'm kind of doing an okay job in healing that part. I might need to use Content Aware to get rid of that horrible thing right here. Let's see if I can do this right. Let's make sure this is on spacing of 25. I shouldn't have changed that. Let me put it back to the typical spacing of 25. And now it was on a soft brush, which is good. Actually, let's go to a little bit harder brush on it so I get more of a little thing like that. See, by putting that onto a harder brush, I think it's helping a little bit. Now, let's just keep on going on this corner, and let's just now make it do that. That's actually not bad. I could use the clone stamp to actually clone this out and make it better. Okay, but you can see that that's actually doing a fairly decent job of covering up all that stuff. Let me go close to this and just get rid of this. All right, so you can go in and correct little imperfections that are in the whole artwork. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, I just want to get rid of any lint marks or any imperfections. So some of that little staining up there is actually nice. It's actually part of the artwork. Now, I could crop this and make it a little bit better. So let's take the crop tool and let's crop this in so we have a little bit of white bleed all the way around and give it a little bit of a good border feel. Okay, now let's hit Command L on this. So on Command L, here's the secret. Let me zoom in. The secret is don't go over 20 points on any one of these numbers, 0, 1, or 255. So what I'm going to do first is move this over to about the beginning of that histogram curve. So I've moved the dark over. Now let's move the light over to the first part of the histogram curve. That's important, and I have gone up 30 points. What I want to do, that's a little bit much, but that's okay. It's within reason. Now, if I go this way, it gets darker. If I go 20 this way, I get more contrast and I get more separation. So I'm going to go up to about maybe 15. Now I'm going to hit the preview button. There's the grayness. Let me zoom in. There's the grayness of what I had. This is now what I have. And that's truer to her true tones in her drawing. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. So that's the first one. Now we have this ready for our portfolio. We fixed the color correction. We fixed everything. Okay, this is what it did look like. So let me open this. This is what it did look like. It was shot. The keystoning was in effect. I had warm on one side, cool on the other. I'm now going to close this, and this is what we have now. Now let's go do the butterfly. So we'll first on the butterfly turn it around. So I'm going to hit save on this file. I'll close this file and let's do the butterfly. So on the butterfly, let's Command Shift S or Control Shift S and save it as a Photoshop file again, which is fine. Now I don't have to do anything except double click this to turn it into a layer. Now let's flip the canvas. First, I don't need to have all of this extra material out here, so let's crop this to a little bit closer to the image. Not totally close, but a little closer. Now, and then I'll crop it to get rid of the white background. Okay, now I'm going to put a white background back there just like I always do. So let's go Command like this. Okay, Command Delete to fill with the background color. So now let's actually take the pen tool. Well, first let's flip the canvas 180 degrees. There. Now let's take the P key and let's cut this out. So now let's take this real close to here and let's cut this out. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Nothing ever changes, and I just want you to see how we're going to use the levels command to increase this and make it right. So I'm going to go a little bit faster with this one. Okay, I'm trying to be a little bit more zoomed in so I can get right to the pixels here and not have to do anything. Okay, that's reasonable to the edge. Okay, I haven't left any pixels anywhere. So let's double click the path again. Double click the work path to make it a path. Actually, I'll just say number 1, and let's Command click it. Make sure we're selected on the layer, hit Command J, and now I can turn off the original, and you can see now how I have the white background back there. Now let's pull the guides down and let's touch the fat part of the curves again. So however bad your keystoning is, make sure, look at how I am, I'll even zoom in. Look at how I'm on this left-hand side and I left the right-hand side. So where as you're moving the guide over, the very first time it touches the artwork, stop. Okay, and that's what you're going to transform to. Okay, there, that's good. Now let's save the file. Let's hit Command or Control T and zoom in on this. Remember, I could use 3 edges if I hold Command Option Shift or Control Alt Shift. I don't need 3 edges. I actually don't even need to move this one at all. So let's go over to this one. Let's go right over to this one. Now let's grab this, hold the Command key, Mr. Sorial, and move this up to here. So now we've fixed that minor keystoning. If it was major, you could still do it. Let's now fix this one. Okay, I've got the proportion just about back correctly. Done. Let's move in. We need to move this one down and to the right. Now I've got that perfect. Now that's good. Let me hit the return key, and now let's use levels. Okay, I'll zoom in. I'll duplicate it, and then I'll show you what it was like before and after levels. Actually, I probably didn't need to do that. I could just hit the preview button. Let me hit Command L for levels. Now look at the histogram, and I'm zooming in on the artwork so I can see it a little bit better, and I'll move this over. I want to move over to about that part of that curve. I want to move over to about this part of that curve right there, and then I want to go to the left here about 10 points, and then a little bit more back to 20, maybe even 21 on that, and then a little bit farther over on the bright. Now that means I've moved the black or the density, the dark density over. I've moved the light or the lighter values that are in there, and here is the difference. So here's what we started with. It was a dingy kind of look to it. It had a grayed off look. That's much more true to the color. Let's click OK, and we are done. So that is how to shoot your artwork and get it ready for your final portfolio piece. Now you can crop, obviously, and crop out this checkerboard background, and you can do anything you want to it, then save it as a JPEG at 300 ppi. Now here's the thing. I'm at 34 inches on the width, maybe even more. I don't want to bring this into my portfolio at 34 inches at 72 ppi. So for the sake of this, let's zoom in and see the pixels. Let's zoom in. You can barely see the pixels of his eye there. Okay, what if we could make that slightly better? This is artwork. This is not an image we shot with an outdoor image. So I'm going to go to image size, and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make it clearer, but I don't want it that big. I want it about a width of about 8.5 by 11. So I'll say 10 inches. Within that, it comes to 11. I'll actually make the height 11. I'm going to make the resolution 300 ppi. Now you remember the pixelization that was on those eyes? Let me click OK. Let's zoom back out. Let's get closer and look at how much cleaner that is. Now I don't know if I even changed it that much, to tell you the truth. If you remember that, I'm not going to go count those pixels, okay? But let's Command Z back to where it's back to the 35 inches so I can see if I've actually made it worse or better. I had made it a lot better. So see how this white area is 3 pixels wide right there? Let's go back and see if that white area ends up being 3 pixels wide. So let me move forward. So let's go do redo image size. Now let's go back to the white area on those eyes. Sorry. And let's see if it's more than 3. It's 4 pixels wide. So let's I did make it slightly better, but at least now it's 8.5 by 11 approximately. Actually, what is it? It's 9.26 by 11 at 300 ppi. We want our artwork to be pretty much 300 ppi for printing purposes, okay? And somewhere around 10 to 12 inches wide. So that would be fine for her printed portfolio, and for an online portfolio that would make a perfect image. So I'm going to save that file, and we're good to go. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you've seen how we can fix with keystoning, and we can shoot all of our traditional artwork with our beautiful smartphones even, or a reflex camera, and you're good to go. Thank you.